Yeah, we're gonna do some.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our June 3rd council meeting. This is a virtual and in-person meeting, so there's a couple people online. So anyways, I'll call the meeting to order, and I'm going to start off the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Posole, and Georgina Island First Nations. The township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Next, I'll ask for a moment of silent reflection for council and staff to quietly reflect on our duties to the community that we represent. Thank you. Yeah, I'll ask everyone to make sure your cell phones are off or placed on vibrate, doesn't disturb the meeting. And remind council of declaration if you can your interest, if it arises, you can declare it then. Or if you have it now,
Yeah, talk it now.
you can declare it now. You
Okay.
so an item in new business.
So through you, Mayor Martin, when we get to the new business, I do declare a conflict of interest. I am a writer and a volunteer for the subject that matters, so I will be leaving the room at that time.
Okay. Loaded. Okay, we have minutes from the regular council meeting on May 20th. The call in order of the promotion that we received those minutes. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we're going to move right into delegations. And our first delegation here is Dr. Jamie Carter. Welcome, Jamie, and I'll invite you up if you want. If it's easier, probably easier at the mic there for people to hear you.
I'll turn it on.
It's on. Yeah, it's already.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to quickly introduce myself. So I'm Jamie Carter. I'm a new family physician in the Peterborough area. I've just been asked to come and tell you a little bit about myself and the exciting new opportunity to be a patient at the Norwood Clinic, which is where I'll be starting. So I am originally from Sault Ste. Marie. I went to medical school at McMaster University in Hamilton and then trained through the Queen's Family Medicine program, actually in Peterborough. So I've been in this area since 2021. Initially had no plans to stick around, but really fell in love. And so my husband and I bought a house. We've had 2 kids and have decided this is where we're going to settle. So I will be starting at the Norwood Clinic in July. And I do plan to take on basically a whole set of patients from this area, in addition to some from the Asheville-Norwood Township. So that's kind of just a little bit of it. I'm really excited to get to know everyone and to integrate myself further into the community. And if there's any questions from council or community members, I welcome those.
Okay, yeah, and thank you for coming today. I know it's a challenge with the little one, but this is a great opportunity. We've been working on this for quite a while with Norwood, and this was the opportunity to introduce you, and you'll be helping Havelock-Belmont-Methuen residents who are unrostered to be able to get a family doctor. So that's going to be good news for a lot of people. So anyways, does council have any questions? I know it's met a while ago, but do you have any questions for Jamie? So this is more of an information thing for the public. The first introduction of Jamie or Dr. Carter, I should say. So anyways, yeah, so I think it's exciting news, and I'm really looking forward to working with you. So
Through you, Mayor Martin. This is welcome, Dr. Carter. This is a great opportunity to bring you to our community, and we're thrilled to have you. Dr. Carter will be the designated HVM doctor at the Norwood Clinic. Rostering, we will soon start advertising that Dr. Carter is taking patients. The rostering process will begin in early July. So please do not call the Norwood Clinic. We'll be rostering through the municipal office here in Havelock. And it's going to take a few months to get everyone rostered. This is not a quick process, but there's paperwork to fill out and provincial government details to deal with, but it will get done. So we're going to work with everyone and we're delighted to have you. So thank you, Dr. Carter, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this for us. So,
Oh, what a pleasure. Yeah, thank you so much. I have a seat now. Come on, thank you.
okay. All right. So thank you. So motion to receive the delegation moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, and next delegation is David Giroux with regards to an Anderson Road boat launch. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor Martin, and members of council and staff. I'm going to talk about a subject that I've talked about before. I know that council has in their package some details about the boat ramp on Anderson Road, and I hope that we can. I also sent some pictures in with it. Perhaps, oh, there they are there. Perhaps it will give us a better understanding for those that haven't been there. So I would like to bring forward some safety concerns regarding the Anderson Road boat ramp. For many years, the boat ramp has been a safety issue, mainly. I'm here today to request that council consider installing a dock at this boat ramp. First of all, I would like to talk about the condition of the ramp itself, which is not very wide, and the trailers are getting wider each year as the boats are getting wider, so it makes them more stable. You've only got about 6 inches on each side of your wheel wells without falling off the ramp. So the ramp is 3 inches, the cement ramp itself, which the trailer first hits when you're back into the water, is 3 inches lower on the east side at the end of the boat ramp as you're backing in. But once you go off the boat ramp itself, it's 7 inches. So those with any experience backing in with a boat or putting a boat on a trailer, you know that 10-inch, your boat's on quite an angle. So when you're trying to load your boat, what happens is the boat goes sideways and hits your trailer fender. And it's hard to get into V. So it's quite difficult to load the boat. Also, a pontoon boat are wider than most boats. They're quite wide, and the trees there, that's particularly the one on the west side, the branches come out and snap the side of the pontoon boats. So there's a problem that I think that can be fixed without too much trouble. I know from the past that the ministry says, oh, you can't put a loader in the water or anything to fix up the gravel to level it up. They don't like that. But there's too many holes in that pail for me to hold water. We back trucks and trailers in there every day. So for a swing hole or a loader to go in and dump a half a load of 3/4 inch stone at the bottom of that ramp to level it up, I can't see a problem at all. But that's only me and a lot of other fishermen and a lot of other people, families that use the ramp. It is extremely difficult when you're alone to back your boat in. The process is the first thing you do is untie your boat from the trailer. Then you gotta get a long rope, tie it to the tree that's next to the bank, to the lake, in very shallow water as you step down. And then you back your boat out, let it get off the trailer, drive away, go and park your vehicle in your trailer, your tow vehicle in your trailer. Meanwhile, if the wind's blowing, you know where your boat is, it's over in the bushes or in the rocks someplace. Then you pull it up between the two trees that exist there, and that's how everybody does it today and for the last several years. So it's not safe. You have to pull your boat in, then you gotta get in. As soon as you step in your boat, because there's only about 3 inches of water underneath the bow of your boat now, you're grinding your boat into the sharp stones underneath it. With two people, same process. One backs the trailer in, the other one backs the boat off the trailer. It's very shallow there, so you gotta be very careful not to hit your prop. And then as the other person is parking the tow vehicle in the trailer, you get yourself up between the bow of your boat, up between the two trees. And hopefully that person can get in your boat without slipping off the bank while hanging onto the trees. It's not a good situation. We smile about it in a way. I know one staff member has been in the lake there because he fell from the tree. Now, I won't mention any names because that's not fair, but it happens on a regular basis. So it's not safe. And the rocks they're Canadian shield rocks. They're not round, they're sharp. So it's not a good scenario at all. As far as tourism go, pardon me, I'm away from the mic. We promote our tourism. We have 9 lakes and many rivers. I forgot my little pamphlet today on our community guide. But about the second page of that guide, it talks about our mission statement or what we have to offer to tourism. One of the wonderful things we have here, and one of them is 9 lakes and the many rivers. It's a bit of an embarrassment for me that boat ramp. So I'm sure that council, if they have in mind, they could start a pilot project here. If it doesn't go any farther, it doesn't go any farther. But the tree that you see on your screen and the one next to it is where you gotta put your boat. You veer your boat up through there. And you can see that there's sharp rocks all over the place there. So I'm hoping council can come up with a solution. It wouldn't take a very long dock. I know that Crow Valley might be very upset removing one of those trees to put a dock in there because there isn't enough room on the right side of the tree to put a dock between there and the ramp. One of them might have to be removed. The ramp itself is not straight to the lake, so you have to back in on an angle. So as you're backing in, your driver's side fender is wanting to kiss the big black rock that's there, along with the bear-proof garbage container. So there's many things there, but I think the main thing here for me is to get a load of gravel in there, even if it took a swing hole without even touching the water, and put the gravel on the east side of the dock to level it up, first of all. The second thing would be the dock, because it's shallow. And the danger, of course, is falling around the trees. So I would ask the any member of staff that, the economic development officer or anyone to speak of this if they so choose. If not, that's fine. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions I can from council.
Okay, thank you, Dave. And yeah, it's we've talked about this before, and I fully support a pilot project, but there is, like you say, some parts to the process as far as permits. As far as filling, we'd have to check into that. So it's gonna have to come back from staff as a report on how we could do it. Like you say, as a pilot project. So there's fill for the ramps that you're asking about, as well as fixing them up. So anything in water, we would have to have a permit for that, as you're aware of. And the other part is the dock permit, so which is more in-house. So you know, that process can be handled in-house. It's just the permits for the fill that, like you say, Crow Valley or whoever's involved in that, we'll have to check into it. But I'll open up to council, but fully support, you know, a pilot project. See what council has to say.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much, Dave, for the presentation. As you said, this has been discussed before at council, not just Anderson Road. I think we have issues. Well, before I get into it, just one question. When you're talking about the erosion of kind of the gravel next to the pad, is that happening at the end of the pad as well?
Yes.
So when you pull in, because I've had that, I think we had an issue back on Twin Lakes a few years ago, the same thing where it washes out. So when people pull are pulling their boat out, they're hitting the edge of that pad and then have to kind of gun the car, and therefore the boat pops up and can even sometimes pop off the trailer, right? So just further to the mayor's point, I think this might be a good place for us as council to start off in terms of starting the work here. I think there's not just this pad, there's, as I referred to Twin Lakes, but we probably have pads in other lakes that maybe we should have a look at, because if it's happening there, I imagine this erosion is happening in other places. So I'll just echo the mayor's comments in terms of this is something that I guess maybe through COVID, some of this got tampered down. Before COVID, we were kind of into issues like this. Now that we're thankfully out of COVID, people are getting out using the boat pads more. So I think we're seeing issues like this pop up, and hopefully we can address this moving forward.
If I may, through you, Mr. Mayor, I understand where council's position is with their permits. Councillor Webb and I worked on a case several years ago where there was a backhoe that was submerged in Munns Bay on Belmont Lake. Nobody wanted to touch it. I mean, the Ministry of Natural Resources said, well, it really wasn't their purview, and Crow Valley Conservation, they didn't seem to think it was theirs, and ministry and so on. So, but I do understand your dilemma. I'd like to see people back there with a swing home, put the gravel in there. Do what you can, because I'm not the only one. I'm here representing a lot of people. I mean, I didn't get up to all the marinas to talk to them. Upper Canada Marine said, go ahead and use our company. And they said, we trailer back there to test our customers' boats, to deliver customers, because the Cook's Bay ramp, you gotta kind of snake yourself down in between the trees, and it's pretty steep there. So anyway, I appreciate council's consideration, and I hope that you would make a motion of some kind that bring back a staff report or whatever. But we must remember that it is June now, and it's gonna get busy, and I'd like to see some kind of a timeline put out if that's possible.
Okay.
So thank you, council. Any more questions? I'd be happy to answer.
Okay.
So through you, Mayor Martin, thank you very much, Dave. That was really interesting. I haven't been there, and I must make a trip in there. I'd like to pass a motion that we follow up and see what we can do for a pilot project for you. I think it would be a benefit to all of the community.
So start the process.
Yes, please. Yep.
Because there's a lot to the process. Okay, Deputy Mayor Webb.
I'll second it. Well, actually, I was gonna ask. Through you, Mayor Martin. Mr. Giroux made the comment in terms of trying to expedite this process.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if we could put a timeline on that to maybe ask for a staff report back. I'm not getting into the docks and stuff like that, but maybe have staff go out, inspect these pads, start at Anderson Road, look at the pad itself and the erosion. We'll start there and move out from, as you said, maybe talk about getting some gravel in, dealing with the pads, and then we can obviously, the docks and other issues like that, I think are gonna take more time in terms of the permitting. So why don't we see if we can address this erosion and whatnot around the pads?
I guess we need to ask Bob, what kind of timeline minimal can we ask for?
Well, through you, Mayor Martin, I think I'll certainly refer this to the appropriate staff, and we'll probably need a couple weeks on this for sure. So for the July meeting, we could bring a report back.
Is that okay with you, the mover?
Yes.
So first, we'll have a report brought back the first meeting of July, or we only have one meeting in July.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay. So I have a mover and a seconder. Is there any questions with regard to speak to the motion, but is there any questions? Comments? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you very much, council. I appreciate your time.
Okay. All right, next delegation is with regards to development charges. So welcome, Byron.
Good morning, happy to be here again. Hope you're okay to see me.
So, all right, so we're entering into the final part of the process.
That's correct, your worship.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm here today, I just provide you a bit of a recap of the development charge background study process. As you can see on the title of the presentation, you know, today was going to be one of the days for you to consider the development charge bylaw. So again, just a few slides just to kind of walk you through. If we go to the next one. Oh, do I have the ability to, okay.
Mhm.
There we go. I'm only pressing it once. There we go. Okay, so just a brief overview of the timelines. If you recall, again, we started this process. Wow, I can't believe it was already back in April of 2023 when we did the first council presentation. Since that time, again, worked with staff, the different departments, as well as yourselves, developed a lot of the policies, get feedback, had numerous presentations to get some feedback from not only yourself, but the community. And essentially, it culminated to the release of the background study at the end of December, where I was back here in January 14th to do the mandatory public meeting. So we went through all the specifics of the development charges, the policies, the rates, which I'll show you as a little bit of a recap in the following slides. Keep in mind that within the development charge bylaws, you are allowed to charge for any of these 19 services. However, as per your current bylaw, or sorry, the proposed bylaw that's in front of you, we are looking at wastewater services related to a highway, which is roads, public works, fleet, etc., fire protection, library, and parks and recreation. And of course, any studies that may be eligible to support these initiatives. Now, with respect to the exemptions, so these are mandatory under the Development Charges Act and through the province of Ontario. So what you're seeing on the screen here, these are exemptions and discounts where no matter what occurs, if it falls within this listing, you cannot collect for development charges. And as a recap, again, development charges are to assist you with paying for your growth-related infrastructure to service, the growth in residential and non-residential developments to help offset the costs on property taxes and water and wastewater rates. These mandatory exemptions, again, they are noted within your bylaw, and even if they weren't, since they are mandatory, you have to abide by them. So you can see here, there's the upper and lower tier governments. So if Peterborough County developed established a facility, they don't pay DCs. Likewise, again, if they had a charge and you wanted to build something, you don't pay one either. School boards, higher in the pecking order, hence they don't pay municipal development charges. I talked about industrial building expansions. So if you do have any of this type of development, they can expand up to 50% of their existing square footage without having to pay a DC. However, we do draw a line in the sand. It's a one-time expansion. right? You don't want someone coming in with a 100,000 square foot facility, taking out a 50,000 permit, going to 150, the next year going to 225, so on and so forth. So we do have a one-time exemption. If there's any if you have any university lands, any developments on those university lands, as long as they receive funding from upper levels of government, they would be exempt from DCs. And they have a number of intensification exemptions too. So if you have a single family home or a townhouse, you can add up to 2 additional apartments to the existing home without having to pay a DC. Likewise, if you had a rental housing residential building, you can add up to 1 additional unit without having to pay a DC as well. And then there's a number of items that really don't pertain to you, such as, let's say, non-affordable inclusionary zoning units. Again, you're not, one of the big GTA municipalities that has, zoning areas, especially for transit zones, so this doesn't apply. However, you do have to take care of other affordable and housing discounts and exemptions, and that comes in the form of owned affordable and rented affordables. If you have any nonprofit housing, those are exempt. And then any discounts as well for rentals you must provide. So if you have a building that is purpose-built for rentals, if any of the units have anywhere from, again, from a 1-bedroom or anything more than that, they get a rental discount. So if it's a 1-bedroom unit, they get a 15% discount on your DC, 2 bedrooms, 20%, 3 bedrooms more, 25%. And then lastly, the attainable units. That's not in effect yet. The province did include that as part of Bill 23. However, because the regulations haven't been released yet, this is not in effect. However, the clause of it is contained within your bylaw. So if it ever did come forward, you already have your bylaw set in a way that it will encompass it. Now, in addition to the mandatory exemptions, you as a council can elect for any discretionary exemptions you so may choose. You may reduce the charge in whole or in part. Again, it may be perhaps you want to provide a discount to places of worship, such as churches, or maybe do a partial or whole discount, let's say to an industry such as industrial, right? If you so choose, you may also phase in your charge. Again, this is, perhaps, something that's, an immediate change. You want to provide a little bit of, I guess a phased in approach. You are allowed to do so. Now, keep in mind, any exemptions that you are seeing on the past 2 screens, they must be funded to your development charge reserve funds. So the way we calculate DCs are, for example, let's say we have a project that's $10 million and it's fully DCable. Well, the moment you don't, so your charge would reflect collecting up to that $10 million. If you start discounting or exempting any items, which is fine, but let's assume you discount, 30% of your DCs. Well, at most you would probably be able to collect, notwithstanding those mandatory exemptions, would probably be $7 million because you have elected to reduce your charge by 30%. However, you still need to pay for a $10 million asset. So that $3 million needs to be made up now from property taxes, water, wastewater rates, etc. So that's where any reductions in the DCs need to be deposited into the development charge reserve fund, excuse me, in order to make it whole. Now, there's also redevelopment credits that you need to adhere to. This is not necessarily part of the act, but it is included as part of case law. And we have included this in your bylaw, draft bylaw, where if a certain unit, again, whether it's demolished or, act of God, just gets destroyed, they should have a period of time to be able to, again, redevelop, rebuild without having to pay a DC. And I believe within your bylaw, we have a period of 5 years. And that works not only within the demolitions or, again, just fixing a house, rebuilding a house that was destroyed, but it also works if you want to redevelop. So maybe you have a large lot, you got to rezone, so you want to remove the single family home, but then you want to build 3 townhouses. Then let's assume that your development charge for singles is $10,000 and multiples or townhouses are 7. Then you would take those 3 townhouses, times the 7,000, which is 21 grand. But then you would subtract the single family home that was already there of 10,000. So the net payable is $11,000, right? So that way you're recognizing that there's already something there and using your capacity. And then lastly on this slide, I just want to, point out that this current discretionary exemptions for council's consideration, which were presented as part of the public meeting and prior council workshops, and what has been included in your draft bylaw are for hospitals, places of worship, and farm buildings. And this was discussed, with members of council, again, in the prior meetings. Now, just want to highlight quickly before I go on and finish the presentation. Keep in mind that the province released Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act, basically in the last couple of weeks. So there will be some potential changes to the Development Charges Act depending on how the readings go and when they proceed. So we are monitoring that, but however, given the timing, there are a lot of items where, if you're considering a bylaw now, there may be some potential changes that occur, again, maybe over the summer months. It depends on what comes out of Bill 17 and what actually gets passed. But you can see here, the summary of the list for the DCA changes include exempting long-term care homes, the definition of capital costs. They are looking at providing a regulation to define capital costs further than what's already included in the Development Charges Act. They're looking to simplify the DC process to reduce any charges and changes. So as part of the DC bylaw process, historically, if you had to make any amendments, you had to go through a public meeting, put a report in, and really couldn't do anything for a minimum of 60 days. Well, they're making some changes so that you could kind of do things immediately without having to go through that whole process. There are deferrals of DC payments. So historically, and as of right now, you would collect development charges, especially for residential, at the time of building permit. The proposal here is for you to wait to get those collections until occupancy. So there may be a cash flow issue now if you have to now wait, another year or two, depending on when those are occupied. There's the removal of interest rates for some of the installment payments. So if you had any rental housing or institutional housing, they were allowed to pay their DCs over a period of 5 years or 6 installments, but you could have added an interest to it. Now they're removing that from the equation. And then the ability for residential institutional developments to be able to pay the DC earlier. So remember how I said some of those, they may have those installment payments. Well, the act here as proposed allows them to pay earlier should they choose without having to enter into any agreements. So the development gets to decide really when they want to pay up until at least occupancy or the timing of their payments. There is a lower charge now for the rate freeze. And then as well for those developers that are building assets on behalf of the municipality, there is potentially a possibility of grouping certain services for the purposes of credits. And that's very mechanical. We don't have to get into it, but essentially if you have a small development that doesn't really have a lot of, building permits or a lot of units, if they're building you an asset, but that asset costs more than the development charge would have paid, this would allow them to help recoup it, not just from that service category, but spread it amongst all others. And then they may be changing the local service policy definitions as well. So again, these are all proposed right now, nothing set in stone, but it's something that we are monitoring and we'll keep everyone apprised of whatever comes through in Queen's Park. So this is a recap. Again, all of this, would have been presented back during the workshops and the public meeting. But again, our growth forecast right now, that's the basis of the development charge bylaw is to service at least this next 10 years, which has about, 170 residential units, about over 600 population increase, and really your non-residential being over 130,000 square feet, which is estimated to be about 121 employees over this time frame. Now, with respect to your development charge rates, you can see here, as presented back in January and as well back in December through the workshops, you can see here we really have 2 different categories of rates. We have your township-wide, which basically everyone would pay for if you were building regardless where you were within the municipality. And again, this is only attributable to new builds and new homes or new square footage of non-res, not existing. In order to recoup the capital costs for the DCs, we've calculated about $12,388 for a single family home if you're building within the township. Now, if you also receive wastewater services or will be connecting to a wastewater outlet, then that is serviced by the municipality, not privately serviced, but serviced by the township, then you're paying an additional $5,700. Which again, if you look at this in comparison, $5,700 to be able to connect to a municipal system is a little bit cheaper than installing a whole septic tank and paying the the honey wagon to come take your septic every year or every few years. So $5,700 to connect to the municipal system. And as you can see, if you are in full services, then it's the 57 plus the 12,388 for a total of $18,000. And then as you go from left to right, the different residential types, it does get reduced in the charge because it's based on the occupancy and the number of people that would be residing within the homes. So a townhouse or a multiple for full services, just over 16,000. A two-bedroom apartment, interestingly enough, has almost the same people as a townhouse, so about the same charge. And then just over $8,000 for a small apartment, really a studio, one bedroom. And then for the non-residential, if you're not served in the service area and you don't receive wastewater, it's $4.45 per square foot and $7.97 if it's including the wastewater services. Now, how do you compare? So as of right now, based on this little chart, a bar graph that I presented last time, you can see that the calculated amount takes you a little bit left of the center of the comparator municipalities. Now, keep in mind, a number of these other municipalities, they don't have water and wastewater servicing, or they would have water but not, wastewater or vice versa. And then as well, there are a few municipalities here that are also currently undertaking a development charge study update. So by the end of this year, this chart is going to look different and the rankings will definitely be moving around. But as of right now, you can see that the blue is the lower tier. The gold is the upper tier, so in your case, the county charge, and then anything in the green would be the education. So school boards, the province also recovers an education development charge. Now, in terms of commercial, you'll see that you're pretty much right in the middle. So in terms of the other municipalities, I mean, you're really now kind of having a similar charge to like Brighton, Cobourg, Greater Napanee, Alphen, Haldimand. Now, the only one that's the outlier here is Prince Edward County. They have some interesting capital requirements for their non-residential sector, hence their charge is greater than $50 a square foot. But again, it's the servicing that's required for those municipalities, for that municipality. And then in terms of non-residential industrial, again, you move a little bit more to the right. So again, the ones that are near your area is more the Selwyn, Belleville, Asheville, Norwood, next door, Cavan, Prince Edward County and Picton, Loyalist, etc. And again, Prince Edward County and Wellington, again, a bit of an outlier because of the services that are required. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, it's more of a recap, just to again, remind members of council of what we're doing today.
Great, thank you, Byron. And yeah, we spent a lot of time on this over the last year or so, and nearing the final stages here. So I'll open it up to council if you got any questions or clarifications. No? Okay. So we do have a bylaw in our report. Oh, do you have something? Okay, go ahead.
Just around the numbers, Byron, now that we're getting near the end here. I'm noticing on the graphs that where we are HPM, you said middle to left of most of these, but a lot of our comparable communities, especially in Peterborough County, I look at North Kawartha, Otonabee, South Monaghan, their numbers are a lot lower than ours. Now, are these, you reference some of the communities that are redoing this, are these some of these communities? Because I'm just worried about some of these other communities even have building going on in them right now, which we don't, right? So I'm saying if we're competing with some of these communities to bring developers here and our development charge is twice what they're paying in, Otonabee, South Monaghan, if I'm a developer, that makes that choice quite easy to me, right? So just to that, I mean, I think you're gonna say that they're going through the same process we're going, so go ahead.
Hey, great question. So through your worship, I'm actually working on behalf of the town of the South Monaghan right now. So we anticipate that a new development charge bylaw will be in place by the end of the year. And again, can't speak specifics as you know, it is an ongoing study, but their circumstances a little bit different based on their servicing. They have a lot of agreements again with the city of Peterborough in terms of, you know, say water servicing. A lot of communities also are on private servicing. So it is a different circumstance, but yes, they are also undertaking the DC study, which I'm working on right now.
So just further that, just for council, the only reason I'm bringing it up is just in terms of that is we as a council, we're trying to bring development here. So I just don't want us to set that number. I know we got to recoup these costs, especially if we're going through trying to get a new wastewater treatment plant. You know the cost of these things in terms of bringing them to the community. But as I said, I don't want to discourage investment or whatnot because we're setting our DC charges too high, right? That's gonna send them to another community and not ours. So I just want council to be aware of that when we're setting this number, so.
Go ahead, Councilor Doherty.
Through your chair, so if the bylaw is passed, is it mandatory then in every rebuild that falls in the category?
Your worship, I'm not exactly sure the question. What do you mean by rebuild?
We have a large number of cottage areas that sometimes they demolish and rebuild.
Perfect, thank you.
As opposed to, you said demolish before. I thought maybe it was a weather related or something. So this is actually something that they're doing themselves to rebuild. Does they fall into this category?
Great question. So through your worship, within your development charge bylaw, so there's a clause for redevelopment credits.
Yeah.
So if they are applying for a demolition bylaw and rebuild, let's say within a period of, I think the bylaw says 5 years, then they don't pay a DC.
Okay.
Because as long as they're building like you know, a single to a single or whatever it is. Yeah, if it's the same type of building that they're constructing, then really there should be no, there is no DC to them.
I doubt if it would be the same building they would be rebuilding, or why would they tear the other one down? Normally, they're of larger size.
Oh, the size doesn't matter in this case.
Okay.
It's a single family home is the classification. Okay. So if it's a single detached home, it's a single detached home.
Okay. Yeah. But the fees are mandatory now, once we pass the bylaw on new builds, and depending on what the category is. Am I understanding that right?
Through your worship, that's correct.
Unless the council makes an exemption?
That's correct.
Okay.
And keep in mind in your example, again, if it's a demolish and then rebuild, again, if they're just, you know, building a bigger single family home, as if it's within 5 years, there's no DC payable.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right then, so like I say, we've been working on this for quite a while and we have the bylaw before us today, so I'm gonna look to get that bylaw brought forward and we can deal with it now. So the bylaw is bylaw 2025-043 to establish development charges for the corporation of the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. Anybody want to move the bylaw? Okay. Anybody want to move the bylaw? Seeing none? Yes. You're gonna have fun. Anyways,
Oh.
that's,
Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm prepared to move the bylaw, but I don't know if we've had that much discussion just on the topic that I just brought up in terms of the numbers of what, you know, I don't.
the one thing with the numbers for autonomy and North Core, the one thing they don't have is sewer. I think that's one piece that's missing out of there. The other part, and I was fully supporting no development charges over the years. We've been through this probably for 10 or 15 years, but the one thing that I keep looking at is the two that have the highest development fees in Peterborough County have the most building going on. So the development fees aren't affecting building. That's not a part of the thing. But that's all I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, through you. Well, I think geography has a lot to do with it, and the two closest communities to Peterborough. So, you know, but I take your point in that some of those other communities don't have the town sewer like we do. As I said, I'm just concerned. I don't want to set it too high. I'll leave it at that. I know we need them. I'm not trying to say we don't need development charges. I'm just saying, as I said, I've looked at the other communities. Some of the other communities, to me, comparable communities are much lower. I don't know if you're allowed to get into what you've been doing with them, but I'm just saying in terms of forecasting, like are they coming near numbers that the numbers that we're looking at? And because to the mayor's point, I want to go low here and then we turn around and have to up it next year because everybody's back up to where these numbers are, right? But are you seeing any of that in terms of, are you allowed to comment on that?
I can comment generally. So through your worship, I mean, well, first off, as you kind of mentioned, a number of those municipalities, they may not have water and or wastewater within their charge. So right there and then there, they are not really comparable with yourselves that do have wastewater. And then one thing too is, while the costs, for the most part with respect to infrastructure, there is somewhat of a benchmarking across, Ontario. It also depends on how you're developing your infrastructure and what type of infrastructure you're developing too. Because, while wastewater is wastewater, while a wastewater facility, let's say, by Coburg is different than what you would build here. So the cost implications have to be catered to the municipality. So to say where I want to be $10,000 because my neighbor's 10,000, but what they're building is different than what you're building. So, just a little bit with a caveat there. In terms of, again, these rates, again, most of these municipalities haven't updated since pre-COVID. So, once they start going, looking at, what was included in their background studies, in terms of capital related to what it would be now with, as you go through, a lot of your RFP processes and seeing kind of the sticker shock of a lot of the tenders. That's the reality. And that's something that the DCs allow you to collect for. It's just unfortunate that the costs have, risen by anywhere from 40 to 200%, depending on the infrastructure.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. Just one other thing, as council, we can change the DC bylaw at any time, right? In terms of the amount. So I mean, 3 months from now, if we reviewed this and thought we could change it.
That's correct. The DC bylaw is not, while it's set for you to use it administratively, it's not something where you set it and you lock it away. At any time you can open it up. And as well, you saw this based on Bill 17 and through your powers that you have currently, you can implement a charge anywhere up to what we've calculated. The calculation is a ceiling, right? It's the most you can collect for. Unless, of course, circumstances arise where infrastructure has become more expensive, then we would revisit that. But as of right now, it's again, as I said, with that phase in or you can implement anything up to 100% of what's been proposed to you.
Thank you very much, Byron. So with that, Mr. Mayor, bylaw.
Okay, so I have a mover for the bylaw. Kathy, go ahead.
I'll second that. I just have a couple questions, okay? So when we were reading down about potential changes, so it says lower the charge for the rate freeze, like that is up to us once this is implemented?
As of right now, we're not sure how that is being interpreted because the way the act reads, if you read Bill 17, it's just here's a clause and it's now open to interpretation because there should be regulations that back it. But there will be certain instances where the way it's reading, and again, we'll have to get legal opinion on this, is municipalities, it appears to provide municipalities with the ability to open up the bylaw and lower the charge, remove indexing, or even add exemptions without having to go through a whole public meeting process. It's almost like, hey, let's just do a staff report or just a quick report from us. And it's, here, let's consider it all in one council meeting of reductions without having to do the whole study.
Okay, so again, so the potential changes, this is all based on Bill 17. But as Deputy Mayor said, we do have the ability to change this at our discretion.
That's correct, except there's a longer process.
Well, yeah.
That's all it is, but.
Okay, I do have a mover and a seconder. Is there any other questions around the bylaw? And like you said, the province is working on this as we speak, so things could change. Anyway, so we have a mover and a seconder. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Byron. Thank you.
Was a phone call away.
Take
Thank
care.
you, Byron. We'll be in touch.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right, so our next delegation is Peterborough Housing. I have a list of people that's part of this, so maybe you can just introduce yourself and.
Your worship, good morning. My name is Travis Dilk and I'm the CEO of Peterborough Housing Corporation. And I'm very pleased to be here today with council to have the opportunity to meet with you and to talk about something that's very important. And I'm sure you hear from your constituents around accessing units from PHC. So Peterborough Housing Corporation, or PHC, is the largest provider of social community housing in the city and the county. And in particular, in the community of Havelock, we have 3 properties, 17 Smith, 8 Victoria Street, and 37 George Street. Now, in 2024, we had a catastrophic fire at 37 George Street. We temporarily lost 20 units. We are reconstructing. I was actually just there earlier before coming to council chambers, and construction is moving along well, and we anticipate that building will be up full operational at the end of this calendar year. So I'm here today with staff from PHC and from the city of Peterborough in the role of the service manager, who have a presentation to show you around the mechanics of the wait list. It can sometimes be challenging in terms of how that works and how we're, I would say, confined within the Housing Services Act. And so we're hoping this presentation will be educational for yourselves, but also in terms of what can be shared with your constituents. So I'll turn it over to staff. Thank you.
Great. Welcome. Maybe you can state your name.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Martin. Good morning, council. My name is Rebecca Vitor. I'm Senior Resident Services Manager with Peterborough Housing Corporation. I'm here today with Katie Hawley, who is a homelessness and housing program specialist with the city of Peterborough. Together, we're here today to share some information about Peterborough Housing Corporation, Housing Access Peterborough, the various types of housing that are available and how to access and apply for them. As Travis mentioned, Peterborough Housing Corporation is the largest provider of rent geared to income and affordable housing in Peterborough and Peterborough County. So we don't just have communities in Peterborough, we also have communities here in Havelock, Norwood, Lakefield, and Apsley. We own and manage approximately 1,400 units of housing and house over 4,000 individuals. Our portfolio is made up of a mix of different types of housing, from semi-detached to low-rise buildings to high-rises as high as 14 stories high. We are made up of a small but growing team of staff members who are very dedicated in ensuring our residents are provided with safe, affordable, well-maintained housing. The easiest way to kind of label what PHC is we're a landlord. Just like any other landlord in Ontario, we're required to adhere to the Residential Tenancies Act, but we are more than just a landlord. At PHC, we're focused on ensuring successful tenancies and committed to housing retention by supporting residents to stay in their homes. So that may be supporting them with accessing housekeeping supports or PSW supports, mental health supports, so on and so forth. We're committed to conflict resolution, working with our residents to work through those challenging conversations by providing mediation and coaching to them. We also look for ways to bring our residents together through community initiatives. So during the summer, we have a group of summer students who provide summer camps for the children in our communities. We also bring in programs such as music and art therapy to our buildings. We bring in community partners to provide workshops or presentations that promote wellness and a sense of community. When we start the conversation about the housing system and the various housing options, we recognize that it's a challenging system to navigate if you're not someone who's deeply familiar with it. So our hope is to kind of break that down and make sure that the information is clearly defined for you today. So at PHC, we have 3 different housing options. The first I'm going to speak about is the rent geared to income housing option. That makes up 61% of our portfolio. Under this program, when we have a vacancy, we run a wait list through the centralized wait list, which Katie will speak to momentarily. And we offer the unit to the very first person on that list. And we carry on until we have someone who accepts the unit. Residents in rent geared to income housing have their rent calculated based on their household income, as well as the number of household members. It typically works out to about 30% of their household income. Residents are required to report their income to us on an annual basis, and this is all legislated under the Housing Services Act. Affordable housing is the next option that I'm going to speak about, and that makes up 34% of our portfolio. For these units, the rents are set at 80% of the average market rent for the community, which is determined by CMHC in their annual rent market report. The rents do increase on an annual basis based on the allowable rent increase guideline that is set out by the province of Ontario. Lastly, we have market rent housing, and that just makes up 5% of our portfolio. So we don't have a large number of these units, but they are just like what you would find in the private market. And the way we manage applications for them is quite different than the other two options. So we will talk a bit about that a little later in the presentation. But for now, I will pass it over to Katie so she can introduce you to Housing Access Peterborough and talk a little bit about the ways to apply for rent geared to income housing.
Thank you, Rebecca, and good morning, Mayor Martin, councillors and staff, and thank you very much for having me. So, I'm here to talk about Housing Access Peterborough, which we call HAP for short. As you can see in the slide there, we're located at the Peterborough Social Services Office at 178 Charlotte Street. And what we do, we're the entity that manages and oversees the centralized wait list. We have two separate wait lists that are managed both by HAP, and that's the RGI, so rent geared to income wait list, as well as the affordable housing wait list. And HAP is made up of staffing from social services. We have 6 admin and I think 12 or 13 people on an intake and referral team, and they take all phone calls, process applications, and manage all things to do with the wait list. So that's in-house. We have several ways to apply for the wait list. We have an online portal, which I can send you guys the links. It's peterborough.ca. Under housing and shelter, there's an online portal for people to do their application. And we just actually updated it to make it a little bit more customer friendly and streamlined for clients to apply. We also have a paper application, which is called a community housing application that encompasses both rent geared to income and affordable housing in the same application. And they can complete that. It's fillable online, download it, email it in. People can also come directly into our office to do their application, and they can meet with staff on site if they need some help or some navigation support in completing their application to do so. As Rebecca said, we do work with the Housing Services Act, and so there are some legislative and local policy eligibility criteria to apply. So I'm going to just walk through those quickly. One is that you need to live independently with or without support services. You're over the age of 8 or 16 years old. You're a Canadian citizen, permanent resident of Canada, or refugee claimant. You do not owe any money to any social housing provider in Ontario. And saying that, if you have a repayment plan or something scheduled in place, then you can still be eligible for the wait list. You've not been found guilty in the last 2 years of any offense related to rent geared to income assistance. So criminal activity in your rent geared to income unit or something like that would eliminate you from being eligible further. And then your income needs to be within the allowable limits. So for example, a 1-bedroom in Havelock, the maximum income is $42,000 a year to be eligible for rent geared to income in this community. And your asset amount needs to be below the asset limit for community housing, which is now set at $75,000. This also includes your willingness and consent to sell a residential property within 6 months of being housed in rent geared to income housing. As far as custody, you also have to have proofs of custody for every child that's on your application that doesn't live full-time in your household. And that's just to look at occupancy standards and make sure that you're housed in the correct bedroom size of the unit. So in Peterborough, community housing is housing owned and operated either by local housing providers such as PHC, nonprofit housing corporations and housing co-ops, And the 11 affordable buildings that we manage on the wait list are all owned and operated by PHC. Wait lists are fairly lengthy, and so people should expect to wait, between 1 to 2 years for special priority, which is people fleeing domestic violence, up to over 10 years for singles. Seniors, we're looking at about 7 to 8 years currently. So it is fairly lengthy, the wait list. There's quite a few people on it. And then I can talk a little bit more about just RGI in general. So I did mention the 3 ways to apply. We have a social housing portal, fillable PDF that you can download, submit, hard copy, paper applications that you can bring into the office. We also do annual reviews, so reviews annually for people that are waiting on the wait list of their income, assets, any changes in household members, things like that. We have, like Rebecca mentioned, there's household income limits that are set every year. So there's 2025 household income limits that are set by CMHC, Canada Housing and Mortgage Corporation. They are shown there on the slide. So for example, in Havelock, for a 1-bedroom unit, the income is $42,000, the maximum income. When people apply, our staff at the office process their applications, look at their income, assets, eligibility criteria, and add them to the wait list. They get notified that they've been eligible. They can either register online to update their own information, call into our office, email our office and make changes and updates. And then they're notified that it will be the housing provider that will, moving forward, notify them directly. So if there's an offer for housing, they'll be contacted directly by PHC or another housing provider in the community to make that offer. I did mention special priority. That is individuals applying for priority access. It's the only priority access we have on our wait list. And that's for people that are fleeing domestic violence or human trafficking. And that's any age group. So seniors as well that are experiencing any domestic violence can be placed in that special priority access. Very important for people to maintain contact is to update their contact information so that they can be reached right away if there's an offer for housing. So that's really important as well. And I'm going to then pass it on to Rebecca, who's going to share a few local examples of RGI housing in the community.
Thanks, Katie. So Travis did touch on the communities that we do have here, but I'll just cover a little bit more detail. So for starters, 8 Victoria Street is one of our rent care to income communities here in Havelock. It is a 2-story walk-up building made up of 18 1-bedroom units. It is a senior designated building, which means only people who are 60 and above are eligible to apply for this community. And as discussed, it is a rent care to income community, so the rents are based on the household income and the number of household members. The community does have parking, laundry facilities, common room for residents to reserve, and the utilities are included in the rent as well. And our second community that is rent care to income here in Havelock is 37 George Street. Travis spoke just a moment ago about the devastating fire that took place in April of last year. It is currently being rebuilt. So if you've been by it recently, you would have seen that it now has a new roof on it. This is a 20-unit building, 1-bedroom units. There's no senior designation on this one, so anyone who meets the eligibility that Katie described and is eligible for a 1-bedroom can apply for this unit. The next, I'm just going to pass it back to Katie so she can walk you through the process for applying for affordable housing.
Just before I talk about affordable housing, I did want to mention that currently, just to give you a snapshot in time, yesterday when I checked the wait list for 8 Victoria, so that's 18 apartments of seniors, the wait list is currently 303 people on that wait list. The wait list can change. That's why I say snapshot in time. The wait list can change kind of day to day based on, unit turnover, priority applications, and vacancies. So we never really give out that exact number to folks. And then for 37 George, it's currently 95. So a little bit lower. I think probably what that's based on is we did pause applications for that building when the fire did take place during the rebuild. So that's why that's probably a little bit lower.
We'll let her finish.
That's in the min, okay.
Okay, so for affordable housing, like I said, we do also manage the affordable housing, 11 affordable housing buildings on the wait list as well. The application process and eligibility criteria are the same, so I won't walk you through those again, but we do the same process for all of those. The difference with affordable housing is it's 80% of the rents are set at 80% of average market rent, versus with RGI, it's 30% of your income. So those are the differentiations. So 17 Smith Drive in Havelock is the affordable building that's on our wait list. The wait list number for that, while we were talking about wait list numbers, is currently at 60. So that's fairly low and promising for some folks. There's also a different income level set by CMHC for that. So for example, a 1-bedroom unit at the Havelock building, the maximum income is $43,812 as of for 2025, and the rent upon vacancy would be set at $970. There is no local for affordable housing. We don't have a waitlist placement priority. So special priority, the SPP designation for RGI is not also for affordable housing. That doesn't happen right now. And then I will just pass it back to Rebecca. Sorry about the passing back and forth, but we wanted to make sure we talked about the right buildings with the right kind of information. I'll pass it back to share some for Rebecca to share the information on the affordable building.
Thanks, Katie. So as Katie mentioned, our only affordable community in Havelock is 17 Smith Drive. It's made up of 24 1-bedroom units, 12 of which are affordable housing and 12 which are market rent. This building is unique in that we have some fantastic community partners who are actually commercial tenants in the building, BON and community care. Having these commercial tenants allows us to keep the residential rents lower, also provides services to our residents, but the broader community as well. So community care has their secondhand shop on site. They run a variety of programs out of the building. BON also has their adult day program on site. So in this building, it is a non-smoking community. It's senior designated. So again, there's someone have to be 60 or plus to be able to be eligible. It is a 2-story building with an elevator. As I mentioned, the 12 affordable housing units would be set at that 80% of average market rent that we talked about. Some of the amenities on site are parking. There's a nice spacious common room, on-site laundry, scooter room. The tenants do pay their own hydro in this community. So I will speak a little bit more to those specific market rent units, but first I just want to talk about the application process for market rent in general. So we do handle that process a little bit differently. We handle it in-house, where the other 2 programs are handled through Housing Access Peterborough. And each community is different. So the best way to get the information on that is to either visit our website or contact our office directly. We have resident services assistants who would be happy to provide any information about what we have available or how to access any of those options. For 17 Smith Drive specifically, we do have the 12 market rent units there. And we did recently implement a wait list process for this. So we do have an application form that interested parties can complete in order to get themselves on that wait list. It's simply a chronological list based on the date of application, and we would just contact in order when we have a vacancy that arises. So those applications are available on our website. We have them in our office. We're happy to send them out. We also have them on site at the 17 Smith Drive building with community care. That concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. And it's been a long time since we've been through all of these. Years ago, we went through and I understood it completely and forgot a lot. So this was helpful today as far as understanding where you are at. Over the last couple of years, we've been asked several times about the waiting list and how do people access the building. Specifically, Smith Drive was the main questions I get. But anyways, this should help people understand. The one thing before I open up to council, so there's not many of these in the county, like as far as Peterborough Housing is in maybe 3 municipalities within the county. They're not in all the municipalities of the county, so it's mainly city oriented. I just wonder how people, when they pick their location, when they're on that list, is that list for county-wide, or do they say, well, I want to come to Havelock or whatever? How does that work?
For you, Mr. Mayor. I would say that a lot of it is based on picking the correct location as far as whether some members have or applicants have family members or support in the specific community. That's like, so typically if someone's picking Havelock, it's because they have other supports, friends, family that are in the Havelock community and they're interested in moving there.
Okay, that's what I was hoping, but.
Just further to that, do you, if they pick Havelock, do you guys kind of go over their application and see if maybe Havelock's a fit? I know it might be hard in terms of the amount of information you have. Just what we're having here with a couple of these places is we're getting people, more so I'd say younger people from city areas. It seems like they come here that, according to the people that meet them here, have no ties to this community, right? And I know there's going to be some, but they come here, they really have so there's no support. They probably don't have a job, right? And the people in our community see it, they end up walking the streets here, right? And not to be mean to Peterborough, but those people will be better off walking the streets of Peterborough, where at least there's a lot more services and things like that that can help them get out of the trouble they're in than walking around the town of Havelock, right? So I don't know if there's a process whereby you guys kind of look into that. Because I think that's happening in a lot of these small communities where you get these people that are kind of grew up in the city, they're dropped in these outside areas because it's the only place where there's an apartment, right? But they're doing nothing but damaging these communities. So I'm sorry, I'm not on you.
I completely understand your comments. It's not an uncommon question. We don't, I mean, unfortunately with the wait list, it's a first come, first serve model. We don't have a lot of capacity to be able to screen everybody. What we do is educate the applicants kind of on the supports and services in the different areas, the distance from different supports and services that they may need as far as whether it's something in Peterborough. And we do try to find out if they do have family or supports in the area. Anything other than that, though, we don't have much control over, unfortunately.
And I understand in terms of privacy issues and whatnot, you only have so much access to information. I'm just trying to get back to you guys in terms of the bigger problem that we're experiencing here in this community is that I think some of the people that come here, it seems to me the older people seem to be able to, I don't make this an age thing, but they seem to be able to meld into the community a lot better than the younger ones that we're seeing here in this community that seem to, I don't know, the fire that happened down there, I think was related to something along these lines, right? So we're just trying to keep that from happening in the future, so.
Any other questions from council? Councilor Doherty, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Couple of things. Number one is you said the commercial venture at Smith Drive lowers the rent. How does that lower the rent when it's geared to income?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So 17 Smith is not rent geared to income. It's not based on the resident's income. Like I said, it's split 12 are affordable housing and 12 are market rent housing. So having commercial tenancies to have their rent offset some of the operational costs of the building allow us to have those rents.
So there's no maximum on income for Smith Drive?
For 17 Smith Drive, there is an income threshold for the 12 affordable housing communities, but the 12 market rent, there is no threshold.
Okay. If I may, it's another question. You mentioned in your screening process that they can mention a designated location, i.e. Havelock. If it's done on a chronological order, how does that work?
For you, Mr. Mayor, the wait list is a chronological order. So if someone does an application, they can select all the buildings on there if they want, or they can select one or two depending on where they select. But it is every wait list. So the wait list for 17 Smith for affordable is chronological order based on priority. The wait list for 37 George and 8 Victoria is also chronological. Like it's first come, first serve. It's chronological.
So there is no compatibility issue in the wait list then?
As far as compatibility, like I said, it's based on where they select. So if they select Havelock, the natural assumption is because they have family, friends, supports in this area. That's not always the case, but the majority that select a county location is to be close to other items.
And one more question. You mentioned your screening process. You went through all the questions you asked. They have to be, can't have a record. Did I understand that right? Is that a conviction or how does that work? To get on, if they have that, they don't get on the application form, they're not considered.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's actually a criminal conviction within a rent geared to income housing unit. So if someone had been in rent geared to income housing previously, and they have a criminal conviction related to something that in their unit, then that eliminates them from being eligible for further rent geared to income housing.
But you can have a criminal record and still get on the list to rent.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
So, any other questions? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Kathy.
Through you, Mayor, just one quick question, and I don't know if you can tell us or not. So the fire on Door Street, will the people that resided there, will they get first option to go back there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, they will be given first right of refusal.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, ladies, good presentation. Just a couple of questions, which I'm a little confused. I'm born and raised here. So 37 George Street, as far as my understanding was, it was supposed to be just for seniors. And your presentation stated that you've opened that up. So with your experience, have you done this elsewhere, number one? And I mean, to mix seniors with the younger groups is not really a good thing. Sorry, I've been in that building many times and the seniors are great. It's the younger ones that you are allowing to come in there that's the problem. And you've stated that 8 Victoria Street is only seniors 60 and up. And you've also said that 17 Smith Drive is 60 and up. And did I hear that correctly? Okay, so when did George Street change from everybody that can go there? Because in my understanding, it was supposed to be just for 60 and up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've worked for PHC for 10 years and it's always been open to seniors or singles. So anyone of any age can apply. If a senior would like to apply, they certainly can. If someone who is 18 would like to apply, they certainly can. We do see oftentimes that our tenancies, they stay in their units. They don't typically move. So there's some longevity in these tenancies and some of them will age in place. They may have started their tenancies in their 40s or something like that. And eventually, age to become a senior. And you may see that reason for the demographics, but like I said, it is open for anyone to apply to.
Just one more question to that. So do you get many complaints from the seniors in those buildings that you're adding other residents or younger people or, partiers, whatever? Do you get any complaints from the seniors?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, it's all situational based, right? Complaints arise in seniors communities, they arise in all of our communities. So it really just depends on what's happening in that community. And I mean, the right to housing in that community is for everybody to apply to. So it's not as if the seniors can make a complaint that we're allowing partiers into the building. It's equal access to housing for those who are eligible. So we do receive complaints, like I said, on a daily basis from tenants, but it's across the board. People who are in designated seniors buildings, we still get complaints.
Okay, I'm sorry. One more question, ladies. Is it possible that the council could decide whether or not that 37 George Street stays strictly just seniors? Do we have a choice on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, unfortunately, it is a designation, that the service manager, I believe, has their numbers that we have to meet in terms of how many are senior designated, how many are open to, single non-seniors. In addition, though, the building is not able to be equipped with an elevator. And when we have, for example, 8 Victoria Street is very similar. It's a 2-story walk-up, challenging for seniors when they have to manage stairs every day. So it makes it very difficult to fill those units. So that's just another consideration for that.
Yes, but 8 Victoria Street doesn't have elevators, and that's a strictly 60 up people that can apply for that. So it's kind of contradicting what you just said, because George Street doesn't have it either. Like that's the,
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm just saying that 8 Victoria is sometimes challenging to fill when we have a vacancy on the 2nd floor. So adding a second building would likely cause an issue with that. But I do have JJ here who can speak a little bit more to the service manager's responsibilities there.
okay.
Good morning. My name is JJ. I'm the housing manager in the city of Peterborough. I represent the service manager role for both the county and the city of Peterborough. So great to be here. I'm happy to support the questions. A lot of the questions stems from historical agreements that were done before, probably before I was born even. A lot of it, we're currently negotiating with buyers and the province. So a lot of the designations that we're having, issues, not just in Havelock and I've worked in London, Middlesex County, same issues. So any new builds that we are going to do, or any affordable properties that we currently have, we have full control over, putting mandates and priorities over. Anything that was before 20+ years even, or we were downloaded to operate, we have no control over because they're under the Act. And so a lot of that does require provincial advocacy, which we're happy to communicate. So if there's something that you're seeing a consistent issue with a certain building, we're happy to communicate through the service manager channel. However, we have not been successful in trying to get that changed. And to Rebecca's comment, the building was built for all adults, 16 and older. So that's kind of the long story short. I do want to preface that RGI housing, there's a provincial requirement, so anybody in the province can apply to its community. So what we do try to encourage is the connection to the community. So we do ask that question, hey, why are you looking at Havelock? And quite often, as we know, we're in a crisis, a housing crisis across the province. The first thing they bring up says, I need housing. They'll just pick any community, and we have no control over that. So folks in the city of Peterborough could be walking city of Peterborough streets, like you mentioned, will choose Havelock because they can get a house here faster. So that is the reason why we're seeing that. And we have no control over, especially for the RGI community buildings. However, we're willing to work on the affordable side to see if we can manage that expectation and community connection a little better. We're certainly open to do that. So I would add that piece.
So I guess along with what Councillor Flagler's talking about, I'm going to say 15 years ago, the Council of the Day worked with Peterborough Housing to get Victoria Street switched over to a senior only, and it took a long time. It started off at, I'm thinking like 55, and the next year it was 56, and every time somebody left, it's at 60 now. When you see the waiting list on that of 300 people, it makes you wonder, because we were told at the time, if this place isn't filled, we will go back to the other model and anybody will be allowed in. Well, it's obvious with 300 people waiting, there's a need for it. And it would be nice if there was a way, and I know there's lots of rules around it, but if there is ever an opportunity to look at starting that process on George Street, it would be a bonus for our people, especially seniors, to be able to convert that over. But it sounds like there's a lot of hurdles to get over. But if you ever see an opportunity, I'm sure this council would be entertaining that thought. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, certainly. So we'll take that back.
Okay,
sure.
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor. You mentioned about George Street. did I understand you right? When that was built, it was a senior?
I can't confirm that, but I know it's built for all folks, not just senior, because it does have stairs as well. It was not built for the intention of housing only seniors.
So follow up, but I've been here for a while and I've always understood that that building was built as a senior and there's been some slippage there, but was it changed or never was? And I think that's the confusion, because I think maybe we could ask people around town. I think that was their understanding. It was a senior, at least it certainly was mine. And now it's not. And it wasn't built that way. And did it change? And if so, when did it change? And then we can work towards. And the other thing is go back, is you said there's no apartments or no elevators in that one building creates a problem. I don't understand how it could create a problem with 300 on the waiting list. It's a nice problem to have then, isn't it? Really. So anyway, thank you.
So the first question, I think Travis and I will take that back and confirm via agreements. Well, but as far as, well, I think even Rebecca confirmed, 10 years ago, it's always been this current mandate of open to everybody, so we can go back further. And I'm happy to communicate via staff, CEO office, and we can provide that via email.
Thank you.
I think the other questions regarding the 300 number is not for 37 George. So that number is specifically for the affordable property. And I believe that property does have an elevator. So that's Victoria. No, it does not. Right.
Either one have an elevator.
So there are seniors who are able to do stairs, and we know from working in this industry that folks do age in place. So a lot of folks do try to look for properties that will have an elevator, will prefer that over not, right? So we'll see that across the board, that people will choose the building with an elevator over not, unless they want a one-story walk-up.
Yeah. Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll look for the motion that we receive this delegation by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty, all in favor. That's carried. So we'll take so we're going to take a 10-minute break. That's all right with everyone. So I get a motion that we take a 10-minute recess. Moved by Bennett, second by Gary, all in favor. That's carried. So come back at 10 after. We're going to resume. I'll look for a motion that meeting. Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor. And that's carried. Okay, we're moving into staff reports for information. So we have 4 reports for information here. Recreation, Parks and Recreation sold one of the lawnmowers. Public Works request for quotation for granulars. The results were there. And Sherry had a report on social media insights, as well as the Havelock Canada Day for Ages celebration. Are there any questions around any of those reports for information? Beth, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. This question is for Sherry.
She's not here.
Okay, that's fine.
We can bring it back.
The annual, do you want me to not ask?
No, go ahead,
Okay.
Yeah.
The Havelock Day Parade, don't we usually do that on Canada Day? And this is Cordova doing their separate Canada Day. Did I understand or read that correctly? So this isn't the Canada Day that we do here in town? Or are we now just with Cordova and that's our Canada Day celebrations?
I think this is the Havelock one. The Havelock will be doing theirs too.
Would that be on the same day?
No,
This
they're
one
usually
is-
on a separate day, but Canada Day this year is on Tuesday. So looking for the date on here.
No, there is no date for Havelock. This is just Cordova's. So that's where I was a little confused.
Yes, yeah.
Where are we getting Cordova?
I don't see Cordova on this one, but
Cordova's is the 29th of June.
yeah. And this one doesn't have a date though, does it, Bob?
It said no, well, it says
So
Canada.
Canada Day is on the Tuesday, so I would expect it to be on the Tuesday.
This is the Havelock Canada Day, right?
Yeah. The Lions are helping with it.
That's right.
So I would suspect it's on the Tuesday, but it doesn't have the date, but it says Canada Day, so I would hope that it's Canada Day, and the Lions or Cordova usually tries not to conflict with ours, so they usually have a different date for theirs. And they picked the 29th of June at 11 o'clock up in Cordova. So we can reaffirm that when she comes back, but the date exactly, but I would suspect it's the Tuesday. And it's in Havelock. Okay. But we'll get an answer for you, like you got that down, Bob? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Just a comment, I noticed they're having the dunk tank again. So I just wanted to bring it up to two council members. They've already volunteered for the dunk tank, so maybe
Do you want to make that unanimous? The two of you do it for us? I'll make the motion.
We did it last year.
we're just putting it out there. See.
Second motion.
So a motion to receive the reports for information, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor, and that's carried. Okay, next is staff report for follow-up action. Next is road drainage problem. Peter, welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mayor Martin, Council. The recommendation of this report is that council approves the drainage upgrades in the amount of $39,550. And further that the drainage repairs proposed road include ditching, brushing, tree removal, 2 new cross culverts and 3 new entrance culverts.
So that blew out in the spring there, did it? Is that what happened up there?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, in the background, it's happened over the last 10 to 12 years as well. Periodically, when we have the huge snow melts and runoff and with the spring weather. Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully while you're up there, you can take a look at the turnaround too. That's where the complaints are coming to. So if there's anything you can do while you're up there, otherwise it'll probably have to be a budget item next year.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, if the report is approved, then we will see what we can do at the turnaround as well. And if not, then we can bring it into the 2026 budget. Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Bill.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So the cost of doing this is 39,000. Was that put in budget for this year? And if not, where is that money coming from?
Through you, Mayor Martin, Councilor Flight's question. No, it was not in the 2025 budget. And the financial impact of the report for the 39,550 will come from the road reserve.
Yeah, through your Mayor Martin. So Peter, are you talked about steel, concrete, and you said plastic? Is that what you're using for all 3 of them? For all of them?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, they are HDPE Boss 2000 plastic culverts, smooth inside. The cross culverts will be 450 millimeter in diameter, approximately 50 feet long, and the entrance culverts will be 375 millimeters in diameter and 30 feet in width.
Okay, good.
Show me how big that is. No. Okay. All right. Gary?
Mayor Martin, this is being done in-house then.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, everything will be done in-house as much as possible. We will have to, through our hired equipment, get an excavator involved. Yeah.
Okay. Move the recommendation. Move the recommendation by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. Great. Next, we have a hot water tank replacement job for the arena. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
Good morning, Mayor Martin, members of council. Yes, it is straightforward, but The point of this, or the purpose of this report is we're asking for funds from the facilities reserve account.
Right, so, okay, it's moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty. Any questions with regard to the motions? All in favor? That's carried. Next is the tender opening for the concrete, the Cordova concrete repair.
Yes, that's right, Mayor Martin. We had a tender opening for the Cordova concrete repair. The tender for the multi-use four-season concrete pad was out on bids and tenders on May 8th. It closed on May 26th at 11 o'clock. So the purpose of this report is to obtain council's approval to award the tender for the multi-use four-season concrete pad. We recommend that council provides the approval for staff to award the Cordova Edgewater Rink tender to Jeffrey G. Wallens Construction in the amount of $135,193.20.
All right. Yeah, correct.
To you, Mayor Martin. And just a random question. Why was the top bid taken for that pad?
Through you, Mayor Martin. So we had recommended with the top bid, based on all the success, all the bidders scored. We went from pricing, references, municipal experience type of work, and a business profile in general. And the recommendation had the highest mark for that.
Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just in terms of the financial impact, it says it's coming out of Parks Capital Reserve, but is it still grant money that we're gonna be putting towards this?
Through you, Mayor Martin, yes, we still have grant money through the Trillium Foundation.
In the amount of 135 or how much?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we do have more than that. This is all within budget.
Completely covered by it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Josh.
You're welcome.
Do you remember one question, Josh? How long is this gonna take?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I'm not sure on timelines, but I'm pretty sure as soon as possible.
Great. So love ice by the winner.
To you, Mayor Martin, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so the recommendation here is to tender. Moved by Councillor Clement, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay. Next, we have a recommendation for an appointment to the cemetery board.
Through you, Mayor Martin, earlier this year, there was a vacancy with the cemetery board. An advertisement was placed, applications were received and have been reviewed by council in closed session. So in open session, we now bring forward the recommendation that Christine King be appointed to the cemetery board for the remainder until the expiration of the term of council.
Webb, you're moving that, second by Councillor Clement.
Right.
All in favor? That's carried. All right, next we're moving into correspondence action items, and we have a letter here from the Cordova Lake Cottage Association with regards to a regatta. So, comes over here. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty. Any questions around it? All in favor? Carried. And we have this one correspondence information item. There's no questions. I'll look for a motion to receive the balance of the correspondence. Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? That's carried. Okay. Video liaison report. So county council update.
We didn't have a county council meeting 21st. If I go back quickly, if I went back to May 7th, let's see. Oh, county council had a moment of silence for Councillor Pomeroy. That was the last month. So that was nice for him to be recognized. And no, just I guess it was just an update on the county official plan, so still working on that. Or voted
Okay, thank you.
pretty thin.
Okay, and Bev, you had the HBM Youth Committee meeting minutes there. Is there anything to add to it, or everything going good with the youth committee?
It's going good.
All righty. And library board meeting minutes, Kathy.
Questions? So it's going well. We're culling the books out, we're cleaning things up, and it's going along quite nicely.
Okay, and then Hart, OPP detachment board remuneration and economic development. So we can start off with the OPP.
Yeah, no, the minutes there. Right.
Yeah.
Thought I brought this before. We had to approve the budget for the police services board. I think there's obviously a couple things added here in terms of things that we hadn't quite locked down. So you see it as a $100 per meeting community representative for appointee and $100 per meeting for the provincial appointee, of which I think one of only 3 of those provincial appointees have been put forward. But basically, I just need to bring this to council for further approval because this wasn't approved as a part of the last budget. So
But we don't have a provincial appointee since Shirley left it on.
no, there has been one at the meetings is
Yeah.
Miss Goodenough. I believe she's from Trent Lakes.
Okay.
But then again, she wasn't at the last 2 meetings, so I don't know if there's been change there or whatnot, right?
With
So
the election, there would be.
it could be, yeah.
Yeah.
So just with that, as I said, this is just to finalize the budget. So so I'm gonna need a motion from council here, I think. Yeah, in order to approve this.
Okay.
This is for $100.
These are just added for the overall total police services board budget, which I think I presented either last meeting or the meeting
Yeah.
before.
Okay.
So this would just be, as I said, I think they were listed in there. It's just that there wasn't a number nailed down in terms of what the remuneration would be for these roles.
Okay.
It could have been 100. I think it was it's the same as it was before. So if it's in the old one as 100, it'll stay the same.
Okay.
They just didn't know if they were gonna up it. They stayed at 100 where it is. So I don't imagine there'll be any change in the budget number.
Okay. Make that motion.
No question.
Go ahead.
Through you there. Just a couple of questions. I don't recall provincial on last meeting, but I understand that it's a new thing and you're just starting to get it going and together. So what is actually the cost for us? According to what I've read, it's $100, but some of it is paid by our township, or is that comes out of that payment that we give them to do? Like, see, now I'm confused because there's 2 different boards, right? There's the policing committee and then there's the board,
Yeah,
right?
this has nothing to do with the
Policing committee,
Exactly.
okay. So with the board, what are we paying for?
You're paying for basically the administration of this board, so it's a whole bunch of different, is the budget in here?
No.
And can I ask you if maybe I could bring this back to the next meeting so I can have the budget? I'll have the total budget with the changes put in there for you. It's easier for me to do that because I don't have it in front of me either, Councillor Flagler, and I don't want to state things that aren't true or not in there, so. Okay.
I'll attempt to clarify. So through you, Mayor Martin, the Peterborough County OPP Detachment Board has passed a motion to establish remuneration rate for 2 positions, community representative at $100 per board meeting and a provincial appointee at $100 per board meeting. These positions, if they haven't been already, will be advertised by the board. And each member municipality was asked to approve these stipends. This is separate from any previous approval of stipends. There was one previously for an admin staff person. This has nothing to do with that. This is separate from that.
Just further to it, I don't think there's anything new here. As I said, the provincial appointees were part of the past police services board budget. It's just with the amalgamation here. there was discussion around whether, as I said, that number should be raised, lowered, taken away. They basically settled on the same rate as what's been done in the past, so. But to Councillor Flay, it's hard to understand because the rest of the budget isn't there to see it in totality. So if I could bring that back to you next meeting, I'll have that for you in full. Thank you.
Whatever council likes, I'll pass it along.
I'll move that then.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, motion to defer this report, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by their Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. So the economic development meeting minutes from March 3rd. I don't know if there's anything from March.
Yeah, we had one last week, so not a lot there. We had one, I'll just speak of the one last week. The minutes aren't there, but we had Rhonda Keaton from the county come down and make a presentation to the group, and general discussion around George Street revitalization. Sorry. General discussion around George Street revitalization. And once again, the committee is making themselves abundantly clear that they would like to have those underground conduit laid for future wires. So just leave that out there for the rest of the council.
Okay. The motion to receive the minutes from March 3rd. If there's any questions for our
No question.
moving it? Okay, and second, Kathy. Moved by Bev, second by Kathy. For the minutes for the March 3rd meeting received. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, so we don't have any written notice of motion. Is there any oral notice of motion for today's meeting? Seeing none, we'll move into other business. So, other business, first item here, Art, is council corner. Oh, and we did have Kathy declare it's on the board. Okay, so
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just put this forward. I'm sure all council is aware that for the last month or two, I guess we're going to be 2 months this month. Our council corner was no longer in the rail. Just personally, and speak for myself, I know we've always had trouble here in terms of getting our message out. It's one of the key ways that we get our message, what we're doing, out to the members of our community who don't have maybe computers or as high tech as some others. So I was concerned about that. As I said, I received a number of phone calls. I've since been in contact with Elmer from the rail to try and figure out what's going on here. So I'm just looking for council support in terms of maybe having staff reach out to the rail as well, in terms of taking the steps necessary to get, our council corner back into the rail. Just because, as I said, it's important for us to get our message out, right? I know a lot of people, we put it up on our website, but as I said, I get numerous phone calls from people saying that they don't check the website, they don't have a computer, on any number of issues. And I think it's vital for this council to keep that kind of information in our community newspaper. So just leave it at that.
So staff reach out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, if I could, I would like to make a motion that we have staff reach out to Elmer from the paper to to take the steps necessary to reinstate council corner to the Havelock rail.
Okay. Right then, so you're moving that, and Jerry, you
Question before I move it, prepared to move it. It's I also got several questions on why it's not there and where did it go and when's it coming back. So I'm glad we're taking the initiative to get it back on, because it doesn't matter the content, it just creates some conversation as to what's going on at the meeting. Anyway, I'll second them.
All right, so we have a mover and a seconder. Any questions with regards to that? All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, we get Kathy to come back. Okay, so the next item I'm on here for the Seabrook Historical Monument and Stone Hall. I met with Barry, I'm gonna say around Christmas time. I wasn't even aware that that rock was a Seabrook rock. So had an eye opener. It's going through the process. I came back and talked to staff about it, and we looked at some other locations to move it to. Whether it was Town Hall, Patterson Park, but talking to Barry, the Lions Park is the preferred location. So there's a process to go through here. So now it's coming to council to see if there's anything we can do to help with this, because for the most part, you know, they've agreed to do the new plaque and all that stuff, but to get it down here, and we still have to get an okay from the Lions, and I think they're going to talk about it tonight. I was supposed to meet at one of their dinners a couple of months ago. That fell through. The next one fell through. I think tonight they're supposed to talk about it to see if they're okay with it going in the Lions Park. I never surmise anything, but I don't see it'll be a problem. I did talk to the chamber, and they said they don't have a problem with it being near their building down there. So this is the process that if everything goes okay with the Lions, and it's okay to move it with what's happening down at the Stone Hall that we found out, I don't know, a couple of months ago with the survey that was done there and the changes that are happening with the property down there, it probably would make even more sense to get that out of there because it sits in the boundary of MTO. So it would be good if there was a way we could help, and I don't know, it's going to be up to staff. I'm just asking that, you know, we don't have a price or anything like that, but if we could, you know, ask staff to look into what it would take to move it once we get an okay or a place to put it. We haven't got the place yet. I don't think it'll be a problem, but I never like to guess at that because maybe something will pop up. But it's preferred to be in Lions Park. So, but council may have to help with, you know, moving it because it is a big rock. But talking to Barry, he's looking after the plaque and all the things that need to happen with it. They wanted to put a new face on it and, you know, to make it happen. So I'm just bringing it to council as an update on where we're at now. You know, staff is gonna have to bring back a report to us to see how we can make this happen and if we can make it. So
For a motion to receive.
a motion
Go ahead.
to proceed with staff to see what this would take to make it happen and bring back a report. So you're moving that? Okay, and second by Bev. Any questions or comments?
Just a comment, through you, Mayor Martin, staff's happy to bring back a report. I think once we determine a location,
Yeah.
it'll help us to do that.
So hopefully tonight's Lions meeting, they'll have an answer. And that's what we're relying on next is the Lions. So, like I say, I don't see a problem with it. It seems simple, but things happen. So, we'll see where it goes tonight. And yeah, so the motion is that we, as soon as we got a location, we bring back a report on what it would cost to bring it down here. So. Okay, so that was a mover and a seconder. Did you have all in favor?
No, we need to do all in favor.
That's carried. Okay, all right. And then the shop local.
I'm just gonna go get our student. Just give me 1 second.
Bet you on there. I thought you were gonna do the draw. I thought you were gonna do the draw. Like
I've never seen it on here that way either. I would.
you shake it. Oh, really? Really?
Whose turn is it?
You okay?
Yeah.
Where's the Lions Park?
Right across from the garage, next to the tourist,
Seven there?
next to the tourist building,
Where the little building is?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I thought.
that general area. Yeah.
No.
With the grand piano beside it.
No pressure.
So Mayor Martin, our student Lucy has been tabulating all
You're
the
up there. Why don't
results.
you drop off?
Well, we're gonna ask Mayor Martin to go do that.
Great, the minutes.
Lucy's been getting all the results together and goals, so it's your hands that will still be.
I could sneeze before he sticks it there.
Save all the questions till after.
Yeah. One?
Just one, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been helping Sherry with the Shops local Excel spreadsheets and a couple things about the last 2 weeks. So we had 44 total entries this past 2 weeks, which was really great to see. And our top 3 businesses were Foodland, Petro, and Home Hardware. And our receipt total, with all of them added up, came to $3,028.53, which is a big increase from last time too, which is really great. And our winner for this round is Joy Brickle.
A lot of shopping.
And this round, the gift certificate is for the Belmont Farmstead, so she'll be receiving a $75 gift card.
One last year too.
Thank you.
Wow.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, way to go.
Great job, Lucy.
That's all we had for new business. So
Thank you.
we'll move into bylaws. And we did the one bylaw, so the second bylaw here to deal with today is 2025-044, being a bylaw to appoint persons to various boards and committees representing the corporation of the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen for the 25-26 years. So
This is cemetery board.
this cemetery board, so. Okay, moved by Terry, second by Kathy. All in favor?
Yeah.
That's carried. Okay, so now, closed session. So I'll look for a motion that we go into closed session held under section 239(2)B for personal matters about an identifiable individual. Section 2C of proposed or pending acquisition, disposition of land by municipality, local boards. And section 2E litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting municipality or local board. So motion to go into closed. Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried. So open.
No business, no.
No business.
Confirming bylaw.
Confirming bylaw for today's meeting. Kathy, Bev, all in favor, carried. And motion to adjourn, Art, carried. All in favor.